Okay, guys, let's talk about Project 3, your final project for this term. This is in the persuasive genres, okay? And when we talk about persuasive, the goal, of course, is to convince somebody to do something. Now, as before, you're going to have two written options and one multimodal component that you will have to do, but you can pick between either of the two written components. So the two written components, one is an editorial, and the second one is a personal statement. And the multimodal component that you'll have to do is an advertisement. And we've done heroes, we've done villains, and our topic for part 3 is monsters. So for the monsters, when we think about monsters, people often conflate these with villains. Monsters aren't villains necessarily. For example, you've seen Monsters, Inc. Monsters are things that are inhuman in some way. So when we call somebody a monster, it means that they're doing something that is not something we would consider to be human. Okay? It's killing millions of people. That's an inhuman act. We can't think of somebody that is really has humanity, what we think of as humanity, doing something like that. But at the same time, we look at Monsters, Inc., they're capable, they have, Mike Wazowski, right? A giant eyeball in a round bulb, essentially. That's not human. So when we look at the monstrous, right, think about the ways that you could play with that term and use it, all right? So let's talk about your written options first. Option number 1 for the written component is an editorial, okay? An editorial expresses an opinion. So we looked at news articles last time, right? And with news articles, you're supposed to keep your opinion out of it. You're supposed to report the facts. It's very cut and dry. An editorial, you are expressing your opinion. Now, even though you are expressing your opinion, you do have to support that opinion, okay? It can't just be, I believe. Why do you believe that? Back it up, make an argument, all right? Editorials are focused on a single issue. So you're not talking about 10 different things, you're talking about one. So keep it very closely focused on one concept, one issue. Editorials are focused very strongly on ethos and logos when they are done well, all right? So ethos, building up your authority, all right? Talking about an issue that you're familiar with, that you understand. You're going to use I a little bit in here, okay? A little bit. Don't overdo it. But using I to a certain degree is okay in an editorial. Logos, strong argument, very well thought through, well structured, all right? Now, you can have pathos in an editorial. In fact, most editorials do. But you don't want to go just blazing on emotion, okay? Build your ethos and especially your logos. This needs to be clearly presented as an opinion, okay? One of the big problems that we have right now in media is that people are conflating news articles with editorials, and they're starting to blend these together, all right? So make sure that this is presented as an opinion. You don't have to say, I believe, okay? In fact, please don't. But the fact that it is your take on it should be represented. It needs to be concise, okay? In other words, you're not going to waste a ton of words. You're going to be very focused and to the point. You're not going to ramble. Stay on topic. You should have a good, strong thesis statement, and everything should tie directly into that argument. You need a strong introduction, okay? Editorials need to grab somebody's attention. You need to know what somebody's talking about. You need to know what their position is and why it matters. Okay, one of the big mistakes people make in editorials is they don't explain well why their topic matters. You need to have a naysayer in this, okay? You need to have somebody who disagrees with you on this topic, showing, and then you need to address the issues that they bring up. Okay, so you need to bring in an outside source that relates to your topic. You have to have a solution. This isn't just a bitch session, all right? It's not just saying, oh, I don't like this. Okay, you don't like it, but what's the solution? Explain it. Break down the solution. You should have a simple but memorable closing statement, all right? Something that people can relate to, something that people can grab onto, so that they can remember it. People remember beginnings and endings. Oftentimes there's going to be quotes and analogies within this, okay? Quotes and analogies. So finding a good supporting quote, or finding some type of way to relate what you're talking about to something else, is going to help you stay on topic and keep your audience's attention. Avoid jargon, all right? A lot of times people who are writing an opinion piece in a specific area use a lot of jargon or words that are understood only within a certain community. Try to avoid that whenever possible. Have clear headlines, all right? In other words, people should know exactly what it is you're talking about and exactly what your argument is. And then you should have examples and use attribution. Okay, so if you're talking about how we need to increase the water supply in California, you need to use examples of what happens when we don't, and use examples of what happens when we do. All right? And if you're talking about those things, then you need to have a source that relates back to it, that explains it. Personal statements. So with personal statements, you make a personal statement like when you are writing an essay for college, right? So this is an explanation as to why I think I'm a good fit for your school. Or when you're getting an award, right? I think I should be Monster of the Year because, right? So personal statements show a fit for a job or an award or a university or a grant or something like that. Okay, that's what you're looking for there. Now, within a personal statement, the first thing you should do is show the fit for the requirements. So if you are applying, for example, to be a college professor at an HBCU, right? Something that I had to do. I had to show a personal statement as to why I thought I was a fit for the university, right? So I had to understand the qualifications of the job, and I had to understand the university itself before writing a personal statement about why I should be hired for this job. You should have specific, meaningful themes or anecdotes, short stories. So why would I be a good fit for this? Well, let me tell you about a time that, and then you have this short story, and it should not be long. This should not be the bulk of your essay, but a short story that shows fit. You have an audience that is a decision maker. Okay, the person who's reading this is going to make a decision about your future, and so you need to recognize that. This is focused on establishing ethos. Okay, so focus on establishing who you are. Some people say, well, I don't like to brag. This is the time to brag. All right. Now, again, you might be writing as a fictional character or something like that, right? Why I should be Monster of the Year, whatever. That's fine. Or if you're applying to be a ghost in a specific haunted house, this is why I should be the ghost hired to be in this haunted house, whatever. Pathos is used, though, as a persuasive tool. Okay, you're establishing ethos, but you're going to use emotion to try to move people to accept you for this. You have to have a strong and effective opening to gain attention. Okay, if you don't get somebody's attention right away with this, you're not going to get it. All right. Like I said, you're going to tell stories, maybe even a couple. Okay. as it relates to specific qualifications. You need to be answering specific questions. All right. So again, if you're thinking, well, why should I be the main ghost in this haunted house? What are the things that people would ask somebody applying for that job? Right. This adheres to organizational values. So what are the values? Imagine the values of whoever would be reading this. What would they have, and how would you fit those values? It needs to be authentic. Okay, it needs to come across as real. If somebody filling one of these out comes across as shallow or insincere, you lose it. If you have shortcomings, okay, if you don't live up to the qualifications in some way, you need to be able to explain that. What are the shortcomings and how do I overcome them? So, yes, I only have 5 years experience. However, most people who have 5 years experience only do X. I've done X, Y, and Z. Okay? So if you have shortcomings, be able to explain how you can overcome those. You have to have a strong closing. Okay? Close the deal. Right? Establish why this needs to be you. And it should be in first person, okay? This is one where you're going to write with I pretty much the whole way through, okay? This is a personal statement, so it's going to come from I. And it's going to be specific supporting details, all right? So don't just say, I'm a good fit. I'm a good fit because. Always come back to because over and over and over again. It should be serious in tone, right? This isn't the time to be cracking a bunch of jokes. All right, unless, of course, you're applying to be the clown prince of crime, in which case a joke here and there would be appropriate. Again, it's a matter of understanding your audience. All right, and now your multimodal component, your advertisement. Now, an advertisement can be a variety of things, and I'm not going to limit you as far as what kind of media you can do on this. I've had people do television commercials. I've had people do flyers. I've had people do brochures. You can do a radio advertisement as long as it's not just speaking, right? Because that's only one mode. If you have speaking and you have music and you have sound effects, that's fine. But any type of an advertisement, I'm completely okay with. It can be like a page in a magazine. So the first thing is you're selling something. You're going to sell something that's related to your monster. You're attempting to win business from competitors, so understanding who your competitors are, what they might have, is always helpful, right? It's targeting a specific demographic. You're never trying to sell something to everyone simultaneously. Beer commercials at a football game are going to be very different than a beer commercial, than a beer advertisement at a gala event, okay? Think about who your audience is and target that audience. It uses all legs of the rhetorical triangle. Now, you'll probably emphasize one, but all three of them are going to be a part. You're not going to be able to get away from that, all right? You're going to use various modes. So if you're doing a magazine page, right, you're going to have pictures. You're going to have text. You may have graphics. You may have a small chart. All kinds of things that you can do. All right, but it's not going to be just one. You're probably going to go through 2-3 different ones. You're going to have some type, if you're doing something printed, you're probably going to have some type of a headline, some main line with some smaller lines in various places below. You're going to have some type of visual, some type of clip art, possibly. Think about your slogan, right? If you're selling a product, that product has a slogan. What would the slogan be for it? It's going to be brief. Okay, it's going to be brief. It's going to be short. You're not going to try to get everything on there. This isn't an essay. Think about how it looks on the page. You don't want too much text on there, but you do want enough to where you're providing adequate information to make your point. It's going to be directive. You want them to actively do something. So think about what you want them to do and how you're going to get them to do that. And finally, think color association. If I put the colors red and yellow in an advertisement, almost guaranteed that's going to be a fast food restaurant. Okay, red and yellow, those color combinations are associated with fast food, and we do this with a lot of different products, to where certain colors are involved more with that type of product than others. So think about what you're selling and think about what types of colors would be used, and use the colors that are most appropriate. All right, make sure you keep up on with your discussion boards. Make sure you're getting your composition proposal for this in. If you have any questions, please bring them to our meetings. We'll talk to you soon.